Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, and this is the NBA DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out, talking about the injuries in play for tonight's main slate. It is an 8-game main slate overall, and then going over to both DraftKings and FanDuel's and talking about my core picks for today. This is back to the pre-recorded video format. If you guys would like to see some more live streams in the future, be sure to let me know. Have been doing it the last couple days just because of the circumstances. Busy in the morning the one day, kind of ran out a little bit of time yesterday morning as well. So just kind of went into the live stream mode where I didn't have to do as much editing, uploading, and all that processing before the video was actually up. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we have Victor Oladipo at point guard, $5,300, looking for 27 points out. He got to 34 points, so he was a hit. At shooting guard, we went with Dwayne Washington at $4,200. Looking for 21 points out. Got to 32.25, so he was a hit as well. At small forward, ended up with Haywood Highsmith at $3,100. Looked pretty good, was in that starting lineup. He's played pretty well in this situation in the past. The Miami Heat really only had like 8 guys yesterday since we don't really count Udonis Haslem. And Dwayne Dedmon actually got ejected after 5 minutes in this game. So really they only had 7 guys by the end of it. Still only played 24 minutes yesterday. Got to 12.25 points, so he ended up being a miss, unfortunately. Then we had Jimmy Butler at $8,900, 62.75 points is what we got out of him. Obviously, we were looking for 45 out of him, so he was a really good hit overall yesterday. And then Orlando Robinson at $3,100, got to 15 points. So he's a push. We were looking for 15, 16 out of him. Played 24 minutes. Wasn't the best overall. The Thunder kind of went small ball, so the Heat followed suit. So that just was kind of unfortunate for him overall. But if you went with Joseph Nurkic, who we did have listed in the initial core as well, he had a really good day. So had a pretty good chance to cash in with the 5 guys that you did have here as long as you got some other decent plays, but a pretty interesting slate overall and was a pretty successful day on the DraftKings side. And then on the FanDuel side, we had Gabe Vincent at $4,000. All the FanDuel totals I did by hand, so if the totals are like slightly off, that is why. FanDuel was having some trouble loading the lineups and scores for me from yesterday, but yeah, Gabe Vincent at $4,000, looking for 20 points down, got to 19.8, so he was a push. He had 7 turnovers yesterday, so that really impacted him overall, obviously, since that's negative 7 points on the FanDuel side. Then we had Dwayne Washington at shooting guard, $4,700, looking for 24 points down, got to 28.7, so he was a hit. At small forward, we had Terrence Mann at $4,500, looked pretty good, was in that starting lineup, looking for 23 points down, only at 21.5. He played like 41 minutes, just wasn't that great yesterday, for being completely honest. Hoping for a couple extra assists out of him, especially being in that point guard role, but just didn't happen yesterday. Kind of unfortunate overall. And then at power forward, we had Jimmy Butler at $9,000, looking for 45 points out, got to 68.4. Very, very strong performance for him, and he was a very good hit overall. And then last but not least, at that center position, we had Nerlens Noel at $3,700, looking for 19 points out, got to 23.5, so he was a hit as well. So a pretty solid day on the FanDuel side as well. As long as you hit some other decent plays, you had a pretty good chance of cashing yesterday as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to the injuries in play for tonight's slate. Once again, it is an 8-game main slate starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We have 2 games that tip off right away. The first one is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jordan McLaughlin and Karl Anthony Towns are out once again. And then we have Anthony Edwards, who is listed as questionable with a hip injury. It's kind of been bugging him for a while, supposedly, but he has not missed any time to do that. So I will assume that he's playing tonight. If he doesn't end up playing, we're probably going to get like an Austin Rivers starting tonight, which really isn't too enticing overall. But in that situation, we'd be a little bit more interested in like a D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert, maybe Jaden McDaniels as well. And then maybe Jalen Noel off the bench as well. So could be some value opening up if he were to miss. And then for the Detroit Pistons, they are on the back-to-back. We know Marvin Bagley's out, but then we have all these other guys that are listed as questionable: Bojan Bogdanovic, Jalen Duran, Isaiah Livers, Isaiah Stewart, who ended up being a late scratch last night due to a shoulder injury, and then Buddy Boeheim, who is recently up from the G League, I guess, but he's questionable as well. So could be a lot of value on this Detroit team like we saw last night, or there could just be pretty standard run for a lot of these guys overall. Bogdanovic, I kind of expect to miss since he's dealing with a calf injury. Typically, that's a multiple game injury, but he has missed 2 games, I believe, now at this point in time. Durant is dealing with an ankle injury. Obviously, Isaiah Stewart was scratched last night with that shoulder injury, so we'll just kind of see who ends up playing for this team overall. For the Chicago Bulls, they got Lonzo Ball, Tony Bradley, and Javonte Green all out once again. DeMar DeRozan is questionable tonight. He's dealing with a quad injury. He left the game last time out with it. If he doesn't end up playing, Zach LaVine, Nikolai Vucevic, both going to look pretty good. You can take some shots on Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White, guys like that if you really want to. Maybe even a Derrick Jones Jr. as a GPP paydown type of option as well off the bench. And then for the Washington Wizards on the opposite side, they have no Bradley Beal tonight. Johnny Davis is also out, but he's mainly been with the G League this year anyways. And then we have Corey Kispert, Daniel Gafford, and Kristaps Porzingis all listed as questionable to play. I don't remember Kispert's injury off the top of my head, but if you were to miss, it could open up some value, whether it's like a Will Barton, a Denny Advia, Jordan Goodwin, kind of as GPP paydown options. Daniel Gafford rolled his ankle last time out, missed the entire fourth quarter. Kind of supposedly practiced a little bit yesterday. So I'm more on the end that he's not going to play today. Probably see Denny Advia back in that starting lineup. We see maybe a little bit more like what we saw earlier in the year, but there is a chance that Rui Hachimura could start as well. He could get some extra minutes. Both those guys are very appealing in GPP formats tonight. And then Kristaps Porzingis is a rib injury that he's dealing with. I do expect him to play, but wouldn't be surprised if he gets ruled out either. Milwaukee Bucks just without Serge Ibaka and Chris Middleton, so the exact same as the last time out. And then for the Atlanta Hawks, just Clint Capella out once again, so no real changes there. Pelicans without Brandon Ingram, EJ Liddell, and Zion Williamson once again. Herb Jones is also doubtful for tonight's game. We'll see who ends up starting in his place overall. Whoever starts in his place is going to look like a pretty good paydown option overall. Trey Murphy is a guy that I like a ton, but he just hasn't been producing as of late. Najee Marshall's been scoring a little bit more. Jonas Valanciunas, CJ McCollum are going to be pretty interesting tonight as well. I don't know why they don't have CJ McCollum listed in that projected starting lineup at this time, though. So we'll go through here. Technically, they have him listed on the bench for some odd reason, but still projected for 36 minutes. That's very weird. For the Boston Celtics, we got Danilo Gallinari out once again. Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. Both this is questionable. I do expect that Smart returns today. Robert Williams is questionable. I believe they play tomorrow as well for a back-to-back, so he could end up missing tonight for his knee injury or knee surgery maintenance, essentially. And then for the Pacers, Kendall Brown, Daniel Tice both out once again. Aaron Nesmith and TJ McConnell both questionable to play tonight. So Nesmith's kind of the big one there. If he doesn't play, then it's going to open up some value in some other minutes for other guys, whether it's the Benedict Mathurin tonight, whether it's a Jalen Smith, maybe Oshai Brissett, somebody in that range. And then TJ McConnell could just open up some backup point guard minutes tonight. Maybe Andrew Nembhard slides over and gets those minutes. Maybe Benedict Mathurin gets a little bit more time in that ball handling role as well when Tyrese Halliburton's not out there. Then for the Knicks, we got RJ Barrett officially listed as questionable at this point in time. He's missed, I believe, the last 7 games. If he plays, kind of impacts his team a little bit, but if he doesn't end up playing, pretty much looking at what we've been looking at. Not really looking to play RJ Barrett on his first night back, though. San Antonio Spurs are without Devin Vassell once again. Keldon Johnson's questionable with his hamstring injury. We'll see if he plays tonight or not. Obviously, if he doesn't play, we're going to have some value on this team overall. And then Keta Bates-Diop dealing with an ankle injury. He's also questionable as well. For the Memphis Grizzlies, Brandon Clark, Danny Green, both out once again. So no real changes here. We do get John Morant back for tonight's game, which is very nice and probably a little bit better for regular fantasy, but he is a GPP option on both sites as well. And then for the Phoenix Suns, we have Devin Booker, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne all out once again. And then we have DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, and Landry Shamet all officially listed as questionable. So really, we just kind of have to see how the situation shakes out. We kind of saw what it looked like last night, and they actually did pretty well against the Warriors overall. DeAndre Ayton, if he doesn't play, Jock Landale, and Bismack Biyombo, both GPP paydown options on both sites. Landry Shamet, if he plays, you can obviously play him. If he doesn't play, Dwayne Washington's going to look pretty good. If Chris Paul doesn't play, Dwayne Washington's going to look pretty good. Dame Lee is also a paydown option if both those guys end up missing tonight as well. Then for the Denver Nuggets, Colin Gillespie, Jeff Green, Peyton Watson all out once again. And then we have Zeke Najee, Bones Highland, and Bruce Brown. All this is game time decisions, but all expected to play tonight. And then we get down to the final game of the night with the Houston Rockets and the Sacramento Kings, and both teams are fully healthy at this point in time. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate. So I'll say right now, at this point in time, we're watching that Phoenix Suns news. We're watching the Keldon Johnson news. Marcus Smart's going to be a pretty big one once again as well, but I do expect him to play. And then DeMar DeRozan, Kristaps Porzingis, Daniel Gafford. The Washington Wizards team as a whole is kind of going to be big news, as well as the Pistons and Anthony Edwards. So pretty much just everybody that's questionable at this point in time is kind of having a pretty decent sized impact, but hopefully we get some of that news pretty early on. But we should have at least the Pistons, the Anthony Edwards news, the DeMar DeRozan, and the Washington Wizards news by the time we get to lock, since those are the first 2 games locking overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So I'm going to start off at the point guard position tonight with De'Aaron Fox. He's $8,900. Looking for 45 points out. He's averaging about 41 so far in the season. Goes against the Houston Rockets tonight. Should be a little bit of pace-up spot. Not the greatest defensive team in the world. Should be a pretty advantageous matchup for him overall. Currently have him projected for 45 points tonight, but definitely does have some upside for more as well. At shooting guard, we're going right back to Dwayne Washington. He's $4,600 today, looking for 23 points out of him. Currently I'm projected for about 25 points tonight. It really just depends on how all this situation shakes out for the Phoenix Suns. If Chris Paul plays tonight, we're probably not going to play Dwayne Washington. But if he doesn't play and Landry Shamet still plays, Dwayne Washington looks fine. If both end up missing, then Dwayne Washington's going to look really good overall tonight. At small forward, we're going with Pat Connaughton. He's $3,500. Had a great game the last time out. In that starting lineup, we're looking for 17, 18 points on him. He's averaging about 16 so far on the season. If he gets the minutes once again tonight, it's going to look like a pretty solid play all around. Currently have him projected for about 20 points tonight. Has a little bit of upside for more as well if he's out there and he's playing well once again. And then at power forward, went with DeAndre Hunter. He's $5,000. Looking for 25 points out. He's averaging just over 24 so far on the season. If this game's competitive, he's going to play big minutes and he's going to look really good once again. Ever since he's been back from his injury, he's been playing big minutes. He's been playing extremely well. I believe the lowest fantasy points he's had in a game is 26. Currently have him projected for 26, but definitely offers a ton of upside for more as well. And then last but not least, at that center position, we're going to go with Mitchell Robinson at $5,400. Looking for 27 points out. If he's out there, if he's staying out of foul trouble, looking pretty good tonight. Playing 30 minutes. Probably going to get close to 30 fantasy points, but currently I have him projected for 28 to 29, just to kind of give you a safe median overall, averaging 25 so far on the season. But there's been some injuries, some foul trouble, and everything else like that in there. If he stays out of foul trouble, which there's a pretty decent chance he does tonight versus Miles Turner, should be a pretty good play overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have $22,600 remaining, just over $7,500 per player. So a little bit of room to pay up for a stud player if that's something you want to do. Giannis is on this slate. He's going to look pretty good overall. Otherwise, if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. And then with that being said, we'll move over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So once again, at the point guard position, going right back to De'Aaron Fox, $8,600. Yes, you've had some up and down performances. Very good matchup tonight against the Houston Rockets. Looking for 43 points out. He's averaging 39.5 so far in the season. But definitely I love the upside that he does offer overall. I got him currently projected for 44 points, but he does have upside for more as well. Then at shooting guard, went with Jaden Ivey here. We just need somebody that was a little bit cheaper overall. There's probably going to be better at value that does open up throughout the day, but $5,600. Depending on the injuries for Detroit tonight, should be a pretty back and forth game with the Timberwolves, who are not the greatest defensive team in the world either. Looking for 28 points at him. He's averaging just under 27 on the season. Currently have him projected for 28 tonight. And once again, this is a pick that could change throughout the day as well. Then small forward, we're going back to Mikal Bridges. I kind of talked about on the live stream how I thought he could have a big night with all the other pieces missing for Phoenix yesterday. Still like him quite a bit. He's going to play big minutes once again, $6,100. Looking for 30 to 31 points out. Currently have him projected for 32 points tonight. Definitely has a ton of upside for more, especially depending on that injury news once again today. Then at power forward, we're going to go with Kristaps Porzingis. Yes, he's questionable at this point in time. He's $8,700. A little bit of price down spot for him overall. 43, 44 points is what we're looking for out of him, averaging just under 42 so far in the season. Some of those games we had Bradley Beal. I like the upside that he does offer. You got the power forward and center versatility if you want to use that on the FanDuel side. Goes against the Chicago Bulls. Should be a pretty good matchup as well. And I currently have him projected for 44, 45 fantasy points tonight, but definitely has a ton of upside for more as well, especially if he gets involved with like some blocks, a little bit of extra rebounds if Daniel Gafford doesn't play as well. Could be a very interesting play. Then at center, we're going to go with Jakob Poeltl at $6,400. Looking for 32 points out. He's averaging 31.5 on the season. A lot of games that he's been either injured or minutes limited so far. Looks like that minutes limit is gone at this point in time. Currently have him projected for 32, 33 fantasy points tonight. Could be a back and forth game with Memphis, but there's also a chance they get blown out. And then in that case, Poeltl's minutes could go away. So maybe if you want to switch over to a different center, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. There could be some other value centers that do open up throughout the day as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $24,600 remaining, just under $6,200 per player. So you're going to have to get a little bit creative with the rest of the lineup. There should be some other values that do open up throughout the day. I would not expect this to be the core by the time we get to lock, but just kind of the baseline that we're going to start with. My updated core will be posted about 20-30 minutes prior to lock. But with that being said, these are my core 5 picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, January 11th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's on FanDuel or DraftKings, whether it's someone from my Core 5 picks, or whether it's a completely different player. Definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. And then, as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates throughout the day, as well as many starting lineups as I can get to tonight. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at CoachCraigSports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. At this point, mainly NBA DFS since the NFL season's over. Once we get back around to MLB, we'll be doing some MLB DFS videos as well for FanDuel. And then in the coming weeks, I will be doing some NFL draft content as well. If that's something you're into, definitely be sure to check that out as well. And then with that being said, if you're a new recurrent subscriber who is yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I do these daily NBA DFS Core Pick videos Monday through Friday. I'm going to try to mix in some prize pick content later in the afternoons as well during the week. Might not be quite every day during the week, Monday through Friday, but as I do have time, I'm trying to help you guys out with prize picks as well. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.